How's it going, people? I wasn't expecting to do another video so quickly, but I thought I'd better get this out because just wanted to bang my head on the desk when I watched the latest Kim's SitRep on Hawaii, and what's been also shared in Telegram groups of false promises again. It just, I just wish you people would see through this veil of bullshit. It's unbelievable. The woman now is capitalizing on a human disaster that we know, yes, we know there's nothing natural about what's going on out there. In Maui, in Hawaii, there's some suspicious things going on, which I can't talk about in this video because it'll probably get pulled. But it just angers me when I know, and I just wish you people would get angry too, because she's lying so much now. She's so desperate. I just don't know what to say. I'm gonna attach the full SitRep to this video so you can listen to it to yourself, make your own mind up. But what she's promising now is no way you can prove if she's able to fix the issue. She seems to think she's avoided attacks and all kinds of bullshit, and there's this Braxa system that alerted her, and God, now she's saying a helicopter kind of hovered over her house. Well, why didn't you video it then? Everybody's got a mobile phone. Video the helicopter over your head. She says she stuck a middle finger up. Well, why didn't you do that then, Kim? Shout out so we can hear your voice that you've got a helicopter, military helicopter over your house who's trying to intimidate you. But no, nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's just hearsay. Gosh. Gee. This is what's so exhausting about it. It's like repeating. She's talking about kingdom of manna. Goodness me. Let's bring up some. She's saying the kingdom of manna is it's nothing to do with Hawaiian people. Okay. So this is today, right? 2023. So let's bring up some bullshit that come up from Thomas Williams. In 2014, the guy she employed and promised him wages, and he still says she owes him over $200,000. Okay, so he worked for her. Look at this. He's talking about the king of Hawaii, the kingdom of manna. Sorry, the kingdom of Hawaii. Sorry, not the kingdom of manna. That's her bullshit she put out later on in 2018, was it? It might have been before that, 2016. So this is Thomas Williams putting an update out there about the kingdom of Hawaii and the King Edmund, because that was his name. Let me bring up another one. Another one. He's talking about a show. He's got Neil Keenan on there, Dr. Aiden, who's a fake legal attorney, another one, Chief of Justice for many indigenous people of the new King of Hawaii. And as you see down the bottom here, Kingdom of Hawaii info. So if this is a cabal thing, deep state thing, why did you employ Thomas Williams that was promoting it back in the day? It's bullshit. The cabal don't want nothing. There's no kingdom of manna. It was made up by Drake. It was made up by Keenan. Dr. Aiden and Thomas was fooled into it. No one ever talks about this shit again. Team Bubba keep information. You go on to, you could be, honestly, if you don't believe me, you think, oh, you've just photoshopped this. It's not. Become a member of Cosmic Voice. Go in there and search Kingdom of Mana. Sorry, Kingdom of Hawaii. Search it. Or Kingdom of Hawaii. Edmund Kilo Silver. Anything like that, and you'll see it. We ain't bullshitting you. We're just here to show you facts. Now, one more thing I want to show you, which is going out in the Telegram groups, and I've had to cut some of this out because I haven't been given permission to share this, but I've had to cut bits out. So, Dr G Taser Wraye, I don't even know how to do it, Chief Research Scientist, Serial Inventor. For the people that listen to Kim's report today on United Network TV, there's a big silver lining for the Maui attack, the Maui situation. The world will be able to see what the GIA, remember what the GIA is? Global Intelligence Agencies, Kim's little baby, which is part of the Kim system bullshit. GIA can do in a catastrophe situation, supply money and necessary supplies to the people. Plus, as Kim said today, everyone that lost a home will have their home rebuilt on their land. Businesses will have their shops rebuilt. All of the GIA system, all from the GIA system, not from any government. The GIA and the key integrated monetary system rocks. Remember that. Clip it. Remember it. If you know anyone that lives out there, has had their house destroyed, contact them. Tell them that they're going to, we need to make sure. I mean, this got to be the ultimate proof that if these people do not get money from GIA, if you people are watching this and have listened to the latest SitRep, there's no way back for you, I'm afraid. If you believe what she's saying now, there's something definitely wrong with you and you've lost. I don't know what more I can say to that. But it's the ultimate bullshit. Have a listen to her latest SitRep crap. I laughed for it. It's a shame, really, because a lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people have died. And we know why. We're not fools. We do believe in that. We know the truth out there. And it's no natural disaster, normal arsonist fires. This has been deliberately done, and most likely by some kind of weapon of some kind. But for this woman to be capitalizing on it, to take credit for something, is utter bollocks. Because if she had a GIA system, quantum system, or whatever, she would have stopped this ages ago. Why can't a quantum system hack these weapons and stop them from firing? Crap. Use your heads a little bit, people. Come on. Wake up. Bloody hell. And this is the thing. It's hurtful. Really is hurtful inside, because we know what she's capable of doing. The evil cow, and she is going to get away with this unless you people start doing a little bit of research. Clip it. Make a note of the date that she's put this out. And I believe it was 16th of August or something like that. And let's see if these poor people get their properties back, their businesses, their land and everything else. She's made promises she can't keep, I'm afraid, because she has got nothing. It's no different than me telling you tomorrow I'm going to give you all £1 billion each, or in a year's time or whatever. You'll never believe me because I'm Team Bubba, but you believe her for some reason. Both of us won't give you any evidence or proof that we're capable of doing it, but you'll still believe her because that's the way it goes in cults. I'm afraid you believe anything. Right, let's play the video, and you'll see us on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
I did not make it for the news today either, but I did want to record a message for you to give you the information on what's happening in the world. And it's been a pretty rough several days, especially for those of you that have been pretty sensitive. There's been a lot of turmoil and a lot of fighting going on in the world based on the fact that the deep state is failing miserably. But there's a number of different events that have happened, so let's get to it. On Monday, while the news was being recorded, I was dealing with a backup system that was placed here by the Abraxas. It had been here for millions of years, and it only goes off. It went off 1,000,000 years ago. It went off 100,000 years ago. It went off 10,000 years ago, and 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and then it went off again on Monday. This backup system started to work probably about 3 or 4 days ago now, my time. And it was tied to weather weapons in one case. And the weather weapons are the reason why you're seeing a lot of dryness, a lot of lack of humidity in the air, or you were at that time. You were also seeing scorching temperatures in the Middle East. And this was all being created by the one location. There were several locations in the world. That would be Mongolia, Congo, China, Greece, Antarctica, and the predominant one that everybody was working from was in China. No surprise there. So the Chinese deep state had basically orchestrated all of these issues you're seeing with weather around the world, at least for the last week or two. It was somewhat operational a little bit before that, which is the reason why we're seeing a lot of droughts everywhere. It was dehydrating the earth. But they did not get access to it until just a few days ago. They had intentions on creating some fictitious biblical prophecies with this system, such as a pillar of fire in the Middle East, which means the Mahdi is coming. And they had already chosen a selected Asian person who is part of the order to be the new Mahdi for all of the Islamic people. They also had some intentions of, you probably saw there were a lot of sandstorms in Monaco where the sky basically turned red, and it just happens to be, it's partially because of the color of the sand, but all that was pretty much created by them. Other things that the Chinese created, not necessarily with this system, also were the events that happened in Maui, and we'll get to that in just a second. But the other thing that this system was supposed to do was supposed to pay them a payment every so many years, or a settlement that was due for handling us good little batteries, which is how they think of us, of course. And that settlement didn't come, but of course a lot of promises were made to that effect. Now, let's talk about Maui. There's a lot of chatter around the internet, talking about directed energy weapons and a lot of other things that started the fires there. There's a lot of talk, even in our news today, I know, about the governor putting a moratorium on the sale of properties in Maui. And the reason for that is because there are people coming in droves wanting to own the prime property. Well, the Chinese had some other ideas, and they did have some dealings there as well. So there was an underground base in Maui, had been there since World War II. The base was pretty much run by Arasaka military for the longest time. And Arasaka still worked there to this day, creating problems with the portal in Maui. As we told you, it was actually the Jesuits and the Jades that started the fires, and that is true. And there was, come to find out, a plasma energy weapon underneath the island in that facility, which appeared like on the surface, it could have been coming from the sky. But we have zero indication of anything in the sky, such as a Lockheed Do plane carrying a Do weapon. What we do see is the personnel in there actually shot it from the ground up, so underground to that particular area. Now, the interesting facts, as they started to unfold, is that there are two royal families of Hawaii One royal family is the actual family who originated from the island of Maui, and you would call those people Machizel deck people. They are guardians of the portal that is there in the mountain, and they have been there for a very long time. The second family is more relative to Oahu area, and they are actually Rothschild-installed royal families of Hawaii. They look like Hawaiians, but they're not. They could have been from the Philippines or other areas of the world, and these people were in full agreement with the Chinese deep state that they would actually take over, and Hawaii would return to the Kingdom of Hawaii. They were in agreement with them that they should burn the island of Maui, because obviously one group is the Satan worshippers and the other one worships, I guess you would say, God. And but they were in agreement that all those families and the island should be torched. And the Chinese went along with the plan. Of course, it was their idea to pretend that they were going to do something altruistic for Hawaii and make them independent of the terrible Americans. But it really wouldn't have worked out that way. And as with all Rothschild-installed families, you know, they're very egotistical. They think that they're the elite of the world, and the Hawaiians are no exception. So China's plans for the island. The Chinese did deploy black water to the island. I believe that was on a Monday. They arrived about 6 p.m. local time. Their job was to actually counteract the GIA at all costs once they arrived on the island. They also have an intention of wheeling and dealing and trying to take a bunch of the Hawaiians' properties for free. That is being met with quite a bit of opposition because the governor of Hawaii is very well informed by some good people. Let's just call them good people, who have told him to plead for the moratorium. That way the local people do not lose their properties and their businesses. And of course, nobody wants what the Chinese want to do with the island, the deep state. Okay, so the second part of this plan of China is they intended on turning Maui into a Chinese military base at some point in the future. And of course, all of their good friends on the island are with them on it. The Jesuits, the Jades, you know, everybody was going to split the profits, but not like the deep state ever splits anything with anybody. But these people believed the story. You know, of course, the Chinese deep state loves to play on your ego. They tell you, and I've met with these people because I've heard all the same stories. They tell you you're so-and-so incarnate, insert biblical character or a famous figure like Genghis Khan, you know, wherever you're from, you know, you're that guy or that girl. And they did the same thing with the Jesuits. They told the Jesuits that they were the ones that own the United States. That's where that all came from. They started the United States. There wouldn't be a United States without you. You're so amazing. You're the most magnificent group on the planet, and you can get this job done. You know, there's a lot of ego playing, and this is why I don't buy into the whole ego game coming from anybody for that very reason. But, you know, that's kind of what started this whole momentum with the Jesuits. It also started it with the fake royal family of Hawaii, and unfortunately it's ended in a lot of tragedy for a lot of people. Okay, so next, on transference of funds for Hawaiian relief and to have the GIA over there. So the GIA decided, I'm just going to say this member of the GIA, had decided to partner up with a person he thought was a friend. And together they planned the operation of what was going to happen for the people of Hawaii. This particular person is not from Hawaii, but he's from one of the island nations, let's just say, in the Pacific. And so he definitely wanted to make an effort for the people there. it was kind of something that was near and dear to this particular person's heart. So he partners up with somebody, and they provided him with a bank account and all of that, and to transfer the funds. So upon the first transfer, basically what had happened is it was held by the Office of Foreign Asset Control for a few hours. And while it was sitting there, I saw what's called a bank ping. What a bank ping actually is when, for example, you swipe your credit card at the grocery store and you're going to pay for your groceries. What it does is it checks to see, okay, I spent $100 or euro, whatever it is, on groceries. And then the second you swipe that card, it actually sends a ping due to the data strip or the chip in your card back to your banking institution. And it makes sure it says, hey, is there $100 here or not? And the bank electronically responds with, yes, there is. And then you see it pending in your account that it's coming out, but it hasn't actually left your account, but you can't spend that money once it's been pinged. And so the same thing was attempted to happen to our money before it actually made it to the bank account by Bank of America. So I started telling these two people that were working on this particular project and on this account, I'm like, well, Bank of America is currently pinging it, and at 3:06, the funds were released from that and actually went into the bank. Now, the back office of their main bank had not closed at that point in time, and they saw the transfer come in. Well, shortly thereafter, they also saw it disappear. So where did the funds go? Well, this particular second person that was supposedly helping to release these Hawaiian funds realized he was unsuccessful in illegally pinging the money while it was in transit. And so he let it move into the bank, but then created a false mirrored server in front of those funds so that nobody could see them. Well, the ultimate end account owner was like a sub-bank, as they call it, and he owned that bank. But he lied to the other person and told him that he didn't. So he pretends and goes through and tries to track and trace the funds, and it's just so I wouldn't move the funds. Well, at the same time, he was setting up a trade underneath the Chicago Mercantile Exchange related to a FX platform, or the Singapore Exchange platform in Singapore. So these two, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the Singapore Exchange, actually have a common trading platform that they had developed years ago. That was done by the CIA. And that was unsuccessful, because I'm like, who's trying to, because, of course, when I transfer money, I watch this money. I make sure that nothing happens to it. If anybody tries to touch it, anybody tries to ping it, I'm right there. So I realized what was happening. So now I kind of figured out, well, I think person number two, or guy number two, is in on this. And I couldn't deny it at that point, but I kept playing the game, and I'm like, well, just so you know, so-and-so's trying to ping your funds, so-and-so's trying to do this, so-and-so's trying to do that. And then he comes back and on Monday, and he asked me for what's called an IMAD number, which is a number that's typically provided by the Federal Reserve. And I said, I don't need an IMAD number. I have a confirmation ID, and I provided you with a Treasury tracking ID so you can see the course of the funds and the funds transfer. Well, all of a sudden, he can't find it now. He can't see it anywhere. He can't find it anywhere. And I'm like, okay, here's the game. So for fun, on Monday afternoon, after blowing up Chinese weather weapons and everything else, I went ahead and transferred $950 million to the same bank account. Now, before I had transferred those funds, this same person gives me an account that is in a private bank that was provided by Langley to him, who wants to desperately help the Hawaiian people, you see. And he wanted me to deposit the next deposit into that account, thinking, oh, maybe there's something funny with the other bank. I'm like, well, there's something funny, all right, because you're talking to my face and doing something behind my back and behind our GIA guy's back the whole time. So fine, I play the game. So I didn't transfer any money into there, but I did, however, see the $1 billion in bonds that they tried to issue against the $100 million, because you need the 10% to do a leverage, and 100 million would have been leverageable. And I saw them preparing, to leverage that money before I even sent it, assuming that I'm just blind and I don't see any of these things. So I shut down that trade, and then I proceeded to transfer the 950 million to the original account, which also goes missing. And of course, I found it. But this time it was a little different. So by Tuesday morning, all heck breaks loose. And the fake, because whoever that is, Jared Kushner, gets involved, which is how we reported. Sorry, by Monday morning, that is when Kushner interfered. He called his buddies with the Sanhedrin and used an old line and sent our 2 transfers into Never Never Land. So that being said, I had to pull them back at that point. There was nothing I could do. Obviously, I started wondering, what kind of game we're playing here with agencies, but it gets much bigger than that, and it gets much better. So they continue to try to get me to transfer funds, and it actually really wasn't the guy that was going to actually be running the operation in Hawaii. It was the banker person that he brought along board. So banker person keeps pushing me, when are you going to retransfer? No funds received. When are you going to transfer? No funds received. And this goes on and on and on all day yesterday, Tuesday. And of course I didn't transfer anything else, and I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens and doing the other work that I do. Not involved with this. So by last night, all heck breaks loose. And here was the bigger scam. So they had set up between the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and Singapore, same trade platform, the CIA basically and the Chinese elders or Chinese deep state together. And they set this platform up there. And they had every intention, here we go again, because we've never done this before, so let's do it again. They try to leverage all of the in-ground assets of not only the United States, but other areas of Africa, several African nations, Russia, and a couple of European countries, and a few Latin American countries. Basically, you could probably say the majority of UN members, let's just say. So the CIA claimed that they owned all of the assets, in-ground assets in the United States, and they were willingly to donate them to the Chinese trading platform. And they were going to leverage those assets and hopefully issue cryptocurrency. Remember, BRICS is going to launch their gold-backed currency any day now. So here's how it all really, really works. So let's talk about the work behind it. They stopped trying to ask me to issue money, so I knew something was up. And that was the platform. So that, of course, started launching yesterday afternoon around 3-4 o'clock my time, and abruptly ended that. And all of the bank guarantees that they had acquired from countries against their in-ground assets from presidents who have no right to those assets. Obviously, their attempts to leverage them failed last night miserably, and the platform just miraculously disappeared. And we blew up the entire thing all the way to the fact that governments can't issue bonds anymore. There's no more trading assets issued by governments, no more bank guarantees, nothing to do with in-ground assets whatsoever, and put them back under the office of the currency curator, which is me, to back currencies that already exist for the benefit of the people. So this has nothing to do with governments at this point, because clearly, they're not interested in working with us. This morning, they had also attempted to issue a bank guarantee against all the in-ground assets of the United States for a trade to happen at Mitsubishi Bank in Tokyo. Well, of course, that didn't happen. Number one, they don't have any authority to issue anything against those assets in any way. And shortly after that one failed, a phone call was received from people from the World Economic Forum asking us, basically telling us that they own all the assets. Apparently they hadn't got the memo, and that they understand that we have the right to issue currencies, but we're at a standoff now, so let's make a deal. I pretty much hung up the phone and yelled a lot and explained to them that we're not interested in working with people who want to kill us all. I think all of you would agree that we do not want our in-ground assets of any country going to a bunch of people who would like to see us all dead and think of us as food and cattle and batteries. So we went ahead and I let them know that I appreciate their efforts, but in the base financial platform of planet Earth, it is registered underneath the office of the guardian as basically, I would say, custodial, and the beneficiary is the 8 billion people in the world. So that was done a long time ago. So no matter who tries to put anything into a financial system and say that it's theirs, it'll come up as you are not the owner. And you are not the guardian. You are not, access code denied. You do not have the actual access codes in order to release those assets into the banking system. Only we can do that. So that pretty much failed as of this morning. As of today, the thousands of operatives that were promised money from person number 2, working with the GIA, were angry. Very angry that this didn't work out. So now he's under a lot of pressure. So they finally call me this morning and they start asking me about transferring of money. Do I have a copy, a printout of the transfer? Well, just so all of you know, a printout of the transfer, because I know this, a printout of the transfer would have allowed them to potentially trade against that money, since they couldn't take the assets. And I just told them, I said, of all the things you could call me about right now, this is what you want to ask me. And he says that he has a compliance problem with the bank and they've opened a fraud investigation. And of course, I didn't show my hand, but now I'll tell all of you, and of course they'll know here in a few minutes, but that is one of the owners of the bank. So I'm like, how could one of the owners, which also happens to be NSA and a few other things, how could one of the owners of the bank open up a fraud investigation against himself? That made no sense. So I played the game for a little bit. So about an hour before this phone call came in, we had a little incident here. This is also the reason why I wasn't on the news, where we had a helicopter flying about 1,000 feet in the air, which for all of you that have ever been in a helicopter or ever flown a helicopter, that's a very low flying helicopter. I mean, you can literally see who's in the helicopter. And so they start circling around the house here. And at one point in time, they circled around and opened the door, to which I promptly raised my middle finger and lowered all the rest of them. And you know what that means. I'm sure if you're watching this, at least if you're American, you understand that. That is the call sign for, beep, I don't care if you're here. So then they turned around and they flew away and they flew into town here. And I'm like, oh, great. So then just a few minutes later, this call comes in and I said, look, buddy, I said, I've got a lot of other things I have to do today to worry about, more so than your compliance issue. And I told him about the trades. I told him about the pinging of the funds at the bank. I told him about the CME Singapore Exchange platform, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I told him about the plans for Tokyo this morning that I got at 3:00 a.m. And I told him everything that was going on. And I said, and of all these things, you feel that I need to talk to you about this platform, this your compliance issue that you created yourself. I'm thinking in my head, I didn't say that. And he goes, yes, I have to make payroll by tomorrow. And I'm like, well, and then he said that they froze all his accounts. Now, any of you that have ever banked before, and many of you have, would know that this particular account here, which they had already sent me screenshots of when they were trying to tell me that the money wasn't received, actually had a zero balance. And if you know anything about banking, if you have a company that is under ABC, as an example, and you have a company that is under XYZ company, and you might own them both, but if ABC company does something wrong, that doesn't affect your banking with XYZ. So I knew that, number one, they wouldn't freeze all his accounts. That's a lie. Unless, of course, he was showing his hand that he is actually the owner of Axos at that point. That's the name of the bank. And number two, I'm like, how are you going to make payroll? You have zero money in this account. So, if they blocked that account and it really was a compliance issue over a transfer, then you weren't really blocking anything. You were blocking kind of zero. So that made no sense to me. It turns out the compliance issue at hand here is with the parent institution. I'll leave it at that. And the parent institution knows that there was fraud going on with their capital account on that day related to a transfer of which this person was the end recipient. Well, normally people of this stature would have what you call a golden parachute. So you can commit all of these problems and all these things in your world, and they'll just clean it up. There's no compliance issue, bank, so keep it moving, keep it quiet. But when you promise the CIA money and you promise that you can pull this trade off and you promise, half the military generals money, you promise a bunch of German generals money. That's who was flying in here on the helicopter, by the way, a bunch of German generals that, believe it or not, were, let's just say, not actual people. They probably aren't going to, that parachute tends to go away. So this person needs, is now expecting me, after doing all of this to the people of Hawaii and me, to bail him out. And so that's never going to happen. And I wish him all the best in the world and have a nice day. Nothing wrong with the other person who was running the operations. He didn't know either. He's now finding all this stuff out today. And we'll keep it moving. But we have selected some other accounts to transfer money to that we will work with, and this person will still be able to do whatever he plans on doing over there, hopefully in the near future. So the people in the helicopter, the 7 non-human people in the helicopter, came here to set everybody straight, apparently around here. They were sent here to get them to handle me, make sure I do what I want them to do, or I will be excommunicated and no longer a resident here. Although that's not the rules, because I've never broken the rules here. Well, something really weird happened after a little while, and the people that were talking to him from here locally felt pretty uncomfortable in the meeting, and you could tell. They weren't willing to break the rules, because if you break it in one place, it breaks it in all the places, and then everybody's in trouble, and they know it. And so something really weird happened in this meeting. All 7 of them just fell over. I don't know. The meeting ended very abruptly. Maybe they were vaccinated. I don't know, but they're no longer with us anymore. And, oh, well. So that ended the helicopter people in their flyby today. It's at this point, playing games with these people, they don't really have the capacity to do a lot of the things they try to do. They are constantly looking for ways to have leverage over me. And many of these things I pre-planned for years ago. You've heard me talk about them on the news, about the gold and transferring the beneficiary to 8 billion people split up between the number of people in your country versus the in-ground assets in your country. And that whole structure, I talked about it over a year ago. So that had been done so long ago, I don't know how these people weren't aware of it, but they've always been able to lie and do things anyway, and that lie doesn't really hold anymore. So that's been my last couple of days. It's been a little bit crazy around here. On the flip side of things, we're still clearing up some things related to our clock analogy that I gave you a few days ago. The amount of control systems that were in place tied to that. It's going well, but it's been a lot of work, a lot of agreements, and a lot of things tied to that. A lot of mischievous things like replicating timelines and replicators and those types of things in different locations. But it's all getting cleaned up. You may have felt, because of this replicating systems, you may have felt a little drained, a little energetically drained from time to time. I know a lot of people were feeling sick over the weekend. That was all tied to this as well, especially if you're very sensitive. And a lot of this had to do with them using your energy to power a replication of a dark universe, so to speak, overlay here in this one. And I'll just leave it at that. But if you are experiencing those symptoms, they should lighten up as of today. You should be feeling quite a bit better. So I do hope that's the case for you. And no more attacks, hopefully, for any of you that experienced those over the weekend, as far as energetic attacks and those types of things. So hopefully you're feeling better on that front. So we're doing our work on that front while we're still trying to deal with these crazy people. But as far as they are concerned, a little bit of, how do I say this in the nicest of ways, information for you. If you attempt to scorch the earth, like the lady from the Lee family, who did, that's who ordered the scorch the Iraq, introduce the Asian Mahdi plan, you will no longer be with us. If you attempt to block or take money from the people of Maui, you will no longer be with us. If you are one of the generals that decides you're going to come into Durango, Colorado, and you are going to try to cause us harm, you will no longer be with us. And I've proven everything I just said to you to be true. For past experiences. If you attempt to set another island on fire, pick a name here, you will no longer be with us, just like all of the people that are underneath Maui right now. And if you don't believe me, you can go look. As far as moving forward in Maui, here is the plan. And be very clear about this. We have no intention of owning Maui. Be nice to have a house there some point in my life, but maybe retire there, who knows. But the people with the properties, with the homes that burnt down, will be the same people that will have a new home built on the same property at zero cost to them, because this is part of the natural disaster relief, the International Natural Disaster Relief Plan that we tried to implement even under the Trump administration for victims of Hurricane Michael. We sent money for that, and clearly, if you've been to that particular area, it still needs a lot of help. And he didn't adhere to any of the rules for those money. Clearly, if you are from that area in Florida, you know that. So this was the plan there, and this is the plan here, and it will be the same for anywhere in the world where this type of an event happens. The businesses will belong to the same business people that owned them before. Front Street, which is the main drag in Lahaina, will look exactly like it did before, or better, should the business owners so choose it. That we will not be building high-rise condos, Chinese military bases, or any other kind of military base for that matter. The land will still belong to those same people, and the same thing will be afforded to them. So we're not having any intention here of we just want to help rebuild. We want to keep people safe and help people rebuild. We have been in contact with some people there on the island and been able to provide some kind of nominal supplies. Thank you to all our subscribers for that, because it's you that makes that kind of thing happen. Contrary to popular belief, that's of some, that's what we do use those funds for emergencies, for whether it's an individual needs food or it's medical supplies or they need help in that region. They have been blocking supply ships to the area. There's usually ships that come in twice a week to stock grocery stores. Those ships have not come in. Some of them are sitting offshore, and they are the food is going bad. A lot of things are happening there. A lot of this is intentional. That's quite obvious. They really don't care how many people there die. I'm sure Blackwater didn't roll up there. They were due to get paid today as well, by the way. They were on this quote-unquote payroll that didn't go out. So there's a lot of people looking at a very select few people as to why they didn't get any money today. And Blackwater, whatever it's called now, Frontier, this or that, is no exception. Their Chinese family people that they work for did not deliver yet again, and they flew over there on their dime. So hopefully maybe they'll depart now, because I don't think they're over there to do humanitarian efforts, especially when you're being ordered by a bunch of people that intend on burning the earth in totality. As you know, there are fires in France right now as well, some in southern Russia. And, if they had their way, they'd light the whole world on fire. They have no regard for nature. They have no regard for our ecosystem whatsoever. They never have, actually. It's all about power and control of them, for them. And, it's sad. So for that, at this point, anybody who pops up trying to kill anybody, which they're trying to, this woman has departed, and many more will depart probably by the time we get to the end of this trade deal, whether it's by people they owe money to, hands, or ours. Who knows? We never know what could happen. Maybe their backs too. Who knows? Like the people down the street. So that is the World Situation Report for Wednesday, August 16th. And I'm sorry it's taken so long and it's so short, but I am doing my best to try to get you the news, I promise you, as often as I can, so that you are up to date onto what's happening in the world. And there's a lot of rumors going around on, alt media and, social media, and I wanted you to hear it, exactly what's happening. So no need to panic. There is probably a pretty good chance that we might not see governments figuring it out. They're probably going to wait for the next scam coming from some agency somewhere, or some old Asian people somewhere, or British people, or World Economic Forum people, and all the BRICS nations and the people that they allegedly promised money to will also be waiting for the next alignment. No surprise that the trade was due to happen today, predominantly because it's a new moon. For those of you that don't watch that sort of thing, it's always a new moon. And today would also been the beginning of the Coven Master Meeting, which would have ended on the upcoming blue moon at the end of August, the next full moon. And then the next meeting after that would have been people like these families, members that we have left. That would have been in September, on the new moon in September, and it would have ended on the harvest moon, as always. Now, that's part of the reason why they were expecting something to work out for them. But see, they really don't understand how the system used to work. And I don't mean computer systems. I mean those over their head, their bosses. So if you are from the families and you're listening to this, then you're late for a meeting, and you probably should call it immediately, and because you're the next up there. Gathering all in one place would be fantastic for us. I would like that a lot. If you could choose that location pretty quick, because time's running out here. The new moon's already started, and you have not shown up to the meeting because you believe that you're in charge now. So I suggest that you make a singular location and all show up all at the same time. That'll make my job a lot easier. Thank you in advance for your time in planning this meeting. All right. Anyway, I wish all of you a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you again on Friday. So thank you for tuning in to UNN. Thank you for your support. And I just wanted to let you know that some of your support has gone to Maui to help the people in the meantime while we're struggling with deep state people that are blocking us from getting real help. So thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.